Itinaon sa ASEAN Ministers Meeting ang paglulunsad ng Bangon Marawi. Ayon sa Task Force Bangon Marawi, magtatayo ng 1,100 at 100 temporary shelters na sisimulan sa unang linggo ng Setyembre. May ulat si Marita Muahe.
Sisimula na ng Task Force Bangon Marawi ang rehabilitasyon ng nasabing lugar na patuloy na naaapektuhan ng kaguluhang nagaganap hanggang ngayon. Ayon kay TF Marawi spokesperson at Office of Civil Defense Assistant Secretary Christopher Purisima, naaprubahan na ang 11 ektaryang lupa na pagtatayuan ng temporary resettlement shelters ng mga residenteng biktima ng kaguluhan. Magtatayo umano ang task force ng 1,100 temporary shelters na sisimulan sa unang linggo ng Setyembre. Sinabi rin ni Cabinet Secretary Leoncio June Evasco na pipilitin nilang magkaroon ng kumpletong pasilidad gaya ng malinis na mainom na tubig at kuryente ang mga Maranao.
We have no reason not to provide electricity to the people of Marawi because the source of electricity for Mindanao comes from Marawi, the Agus River.
Magtatayo rin sila ng paaralan para sa mga estudyante ng Marawi, gaya na rin ng health centers sa ilang mga piling barangay. Dagdag ni Vasco, ang bawat rehabilitation efforts ay dapat na sinisimulan sa pamamagitan ng pagkonsulta sa mga lokal na pamahalaan, lalo na sa mga residente. At para sa kanya, kailangang maibalik agad ang mga ito sa kanilang mga tahanan.
We cannot let these people stay long in the evacuation centers because the longer they will stay in this evacuation center, the hurt will be going deeper and deeper in them, especially for the children who cannot understand why these things are happening.
Peacebuilding and its development. Peacebuilding is a long-term process of building up trust and positive approach to strengthen a society. It is a non-violent approach to peacemaking after a conflict. It starts by building a strong alliance to help understand the differences of those in the conflict zone. Priorities and views of those in conflicts must be defined. A strong national policy framework is needed, aligned with the interests and priorities of those in the conflict area. Proceeding without casting improper comprehension of the opposing views, a supposed peace-building activity may backfire. The Development Assistance Committee presented the challenges in providing external assistance in conflict situations in their report in 1997. For example, aid is usually expected to operate as a peace-building agent, but it can also bear a damaging risk. It can worsen the rivalry between the groups involved if the aid is recognized as biased. There are two phases that the international alliance must consider. First, the post-conflict peace-building. Second, the long-term process. The post-conflict peace-building process is the immediate action to meet the needs of those in the conflict zone, such as food, water, shelter, and not to forget security. This term was introduced by the late UN Secretary General Boutros Ghali. In his report, he defined preventive diplomacy as an attempt to stop the violence from happening by finding conflict solutions. There are three factors that contribute to peace building. First is security. Contrary to religious teachings that a strong faith in God or Allah is where one can find peace and security, the recent crisis in Marawi is a proof that religion can divide the nation. There are four suggestions to improve the national security. First is the control and regulation of small arms and light weapons. There are three facts supporting this recommendation. First fact, while the Armed Forces of the Philippines or AFP
Local government units and other government sectors tried their best to stop the fabrication and accumulation of small arms and light weapons. The locals of Marawi and other Muslim regions needed these weapons to protect their lives. Second fact, aside from conflicting faith and land ownership, Rito or clan war has also put the local security at risk. Third fact, financial institutions and other corrupt officials utilize their assets to supply guns and ammunition for their own financial gain. It's hard to end wars if the people in power take advantage of the situation. Second is the Security System Reform or SSR. The Development Assistance Committee of the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development or OECD/DAC defines SSR as an increase of a country's ability to meet the range of security needs within their societies in a manner consistent with democratic norms and sound principles of governance, transparency, and the rule of law. The country needs SSR programs that would ensure the public of their security and in turn of further economic, social, and political developments. Third is DDR or disarmament, demobilization, and reintegration. DDR is an instrument of peace building, more commonly of UN peacekeeping. DDR programs are key factors in peace operations. Its main objective is to avoid the rebirth of another insurgency. In 1999, 4,850 members of the Moro National Liberation Front, or MNLF, were integrated into the AFP and PNP, but the government was unable to force the insurgents to disarm and demobilize. Instead, they launched the Balik Baril program, the voluntary surrender of their firearms. And finally, the humanitarian mine action. The Marawi siege displaced around 360,000 residents, with most seeking shelter with family or friends in Llano del Sur and Llano del Norte. Task Force Bangon Marawi was formed to help the residents slowly recover and return to their houses. The government and partner agencies have identified committees that will address issues in peace and order, housing, reconstruction, health and social welfare, and livelihood. The total reconstruction and recovery of Marawi may take some time, but with the support of the government together with the local and international non-governmental organizations, the partner agencies of the UN, and the resiliency of the Filipinos, nothing is impossible. Political development is another contributing factor in peace building. As a matter of national policy, the government considers terrorism a criminal act and adopts a no-compromise attitude towards terrorists or terrorist groups. The Conflict-Sensitive Resource and Asset Management, or COSRAM program, supports the Philippines in combating poverty, controlling conflicts, and peace building in the region of Caraga and other areas in the Philippines. It's a joint program of the Philippine and German governments. The government has taken action in efforts to rationalize and restructure its bureaucracy. The restoration of the government system is a major aspect of political reform which had a huge impact based on the separation of powers and balance among the three branches of government. This would help in addressing the issue of professional responsibility and accountability. The government, including the media, must be responsible for providing important services and information. Providing full access will have effective and efficient facilitation of economic enhancement, progress, and mobility, social services, public utilities, national security services, and widespread gain and profit for general consumption, welfare, and benefit. Furthermore, citizens and the media serve as watchdogs for transparency and accountability in government process and projects. Another contributing factor in peace building is social and economic development. Pre-conflict preparation and post-conflict rehabilitation of an affected society are vital tasks to establish a society in crisis. Norwegian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or NMFA, stated, efforts to promote peace must deal with the following challenges: repatriation and reintegration of refugees and internally displaced persons, reconstruction of infrastructure and important public functions, social development, which are education and health, economic development, which are private sector development, employment, trade, and investment. There are 5 things to consider in social and economic development: refugee management, infrastructure and public functions, schools and hospitals, and revenue building. Maslow's hierarchy of needs shows that physiological safety and a sense of belongingness must be prioritized for an individual to have a sustainable life. As NMFA stated, young people with limited education and limited job possibilities are often potential recruits to groups involved in violent conflict. Education, jobs, trauma therapy, and psychosocial support for children and young people affected by conflict are essential measures for preparing the ground for peace. Schools can contribute by teaching children about, for example, respect for human rights, dialogue, and nonviolent conflict resolution. Issues relating to development and peace building are mainly the global and local issues. The world is facing various issues in which peace education may help address. In a well-meaning attempt to deal with these issues, the international community exercised its sense of unity by pooling their resources for assistance to be provided. Awareness of the local and global issues must be taught in schools. The teaching resources should be well-researched, packed with evidence and proof, and should be presented in the situation, task, action, result approach. So, it will be easy for kids and other locals to understand their role in peace building. The Philippines has been facing several issues for years. Two major issues are further discussed. Under local issues, there are internal security challenges. One security challenge which the country currently faces is the conflict with the Communist Party of the Philippines and its armed wing, the New People's Army. Another security challenge is the Muslim separatist struggle in Mindanao, wherein the MILF is the largest group operating. The peace process with the Maras finally reached a breakthrough through the organic law for the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, better known as the Bangsamoro Basic Law, which was ratified in 2018. This law gives the ARMM far more autonomy with a parliamentary democratic form of government. Poverty and economic development concerns are another factor. Multiple conflicts arise from the poverty issue, such as the protests initiated by worker groups of minimum wage earners by the Akbayan Party List. Another conflict comes from the anger of citizens against the greed of traders who hoard the goods, and this prompted the Department of Agriculture to raid warehouses of suspected rice hoarders. Another significant part of the economic development issue is the depreciation of the Philippine peso. Moreover, the issue of oil price hike in the world market, a global problem, is also a factor in the peso depreciation causing international conflicts. We are more than capable as a nation to participate in global peace-building efforts due to our past and desirable experiences from other countries. Below are some of our notable contributions as part of the good donor practice in peace-building. The Philippines had provided non-monetary assistance to war-torn nations. Philippines opened its doors to Jewish refugees affected by the extremist philosophy of Adolf Hitler. President Manuel Quezon provided his properties in Marikina and Mindanao to the refugees. We actively participated in UN conflict prevention efforts. In 1947, the Philippines was the only Asian country that voted in favor of the UN Resolution 18, the creation of the State of Israel. There are currently around 40 peace-building non-government organizations in the Philippines. In addition to these groups, the government, through the leadership of the Department of Education, is an active contributor to peace-building efforts. The following are some notable groups: Tuklas Katutubo, Peace Advocate Zamboanga Foundation Incorporated, Peace Education Bureau under Department of Education. As a conclusion, peace education and political development are integral factors of peace building. A country's stand on peace building depends on the internal conflicts which affect its economic and social conditions. Political development has a great influence in this circumstance. In addition, the country's view and participation in the global context of peace building are both affected by its own political development. Peace building is crucial even before a conflict begins. It is fundamental that citizens are aware of their role in creating a peaceful and harmonious society. In this context, peace education is essential. As part of the group's recommendation, the government and other key stakeholders must develop and generate programs that cultivate values and attitudes which will encourage individual and social action for building more peaceful communities. In addition to these peace education, community programs that endorse peace-building agendas should be generated and constantly developed. Citizens and the state should work together in achieving peaceful and conflict-free communities. Moreover, the government should also continuously work with global peace-building organizations. And this is the end of our topic, Peace Building, the World and the Nation, a take on development and peace building.